Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to those of you who are joining us from across the world today for another edition of Pandemic Punditry brought to you by the Content Experience Company. We are delighted and honored to have Ruben Harris, CEO of Karma, who recently raised $10 million in funding to grow its business as a top of the funnel matchmaker for Edtech companies. Welcome to Pandemic Punditry, Ruben.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, Ruben, just for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, I was wondering whether you could provide some context around the problem that Carrier Karma is striving to solve for its customers. And so feel free to share some numbers and facts to sort of describe what you are successfully doing to solve that particular issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way you describe Career Karma is accurate. So yeah, we serve as an admissions layer into job training programs that people can trust, including boot camps, trade schools, and colleges. When it comes to the problem that we're solving, is not just helping people discover job training programs that they could trust, but figure out which program is best for that specific individual. The reason why I think that's important to understand is there's over 9,000 trade schools, colleges, boot camps, and universities out there. There's over 20 million people a year that are trying to get into these different job training programs. And also, the student profile has changed. Like our focus is adults. And historically, when you think about students, you think about 18-year-olds that don't have any responsibilities, no kids, no family. But today, a worker looks very different. A worker's probably like 25 and up, has kids. They might be married. They might not be married. And they can't always do a full-time program. They might need to do something part-time or self-paced. They probably have some debt. They might have some credit issues. They probably didn't go to an Ivy League university. They probably didn't have the greatest GPA, SAT score. So they need to have a program that has flexibility, access to high quality financing or deferred financing because they don't have the money to put down, with the flexibility in their schedule so they can not only focus on their schoolwork, but also take care of their kids and maybe also manage a job that they're doing part-time as well so that they can protect their dreams. So I say all of that to if I was going to put it in a nutshell, is we recommend the best training program for you that you can trust that will get you into your job that you want in a short amount of time.
Thank you, Ruben. That was really useful data points for people to understand the magnitude of the problem that Career Karma is hoping to solve. And I think those numbers of 9,000, sort of training programs, 20 million people looking to sort of take use of that is quite compelling. So do you see this?
So it's actually bigger than that. So that's just like, that's the current focus, right? So
okay.
If you look at the workforce, there's 3 billion people in the workforce, right? If we're talking about global numbers, right? 2 billion of them are blue collar, right? And even before the pandemic, there was supposed to be 375 million workers that were going to switch careers between now and 2030. That's current workforce, right? That's not talking about the numbers about what happened after the pandemic, right? It's not addressing the fact that World Economic Forum said that 54% of the workforce has to reskill by 2022, right? So, and also, like just looking at the U.S. numbers, the U.S. alone spends $2 trillion on workforce development every year, right? That's not global numbers. So it's a massive problem. Massive problem.
Great. I'm glad you shared it because that was my second question. I was going to ask you what is the total magnitude of the market that you're playing in, and so you took that right out of my mouth. So appreciate the and so it is a huge market opportunity that you are pursuing. So would you consider yourself a category leader there in terms of competition in your space?
Yeah, I would say we are the category kings of the rapid reskilling movement, and I say that because we're the only person doing what we're doing, right? There's like we're very big believers in like competition is for losers mindset. Like we don't compete with anybody else. We create our own lane, right? There's people that are doing similar things to what we're doing, right? There's like directories like Course Report and SwitchUp that also provide directories. There's things like niche.com, which is a review site for colleges. There's things like U.S. News and World Report that provides things for colleges as well. There's things like Indeed and Glassdoor that provides reviews for companies, but there's no platform. There's things like Applyboard that helps international students get into college. Like these are all amazing multi-billion-dollar companies that are great, but we think about them like Directory 1.0, right? There's no platform that has this trusted review site with a community layer on top of it that serves as a trusted advisor and community that sticks with you, not just into a school, but during the program, during the job search, and for the rest of your life. Our premise is that people change careers 5 or more times in their lifetime. And our post-secondary education system and even vocational education system trains you for one job and leaves you alone to navigate the rest of it forever. It's easier to go through life if you have a safety net. We want to be that safety net for everybody. We want to be that front door to the tech industry. We want to be that group of people that you can always trust that's going to be with you whenever you have questions and whenever you're looking for guidance to where you want to go.
Karthika, I'm sure you're itching to get in.
Well said, Ruben. Well said. It's interesting you used the word, if I caught you right, upskilling movement. Did I catch that right?
I said the rapid reskilling movement.
Rapid reskilling,
it includes upskilling, it includes reskilling, it includes training, and all of that. But yeah, we came up with that term rapid reskilling because it's referring to the trend of every education system needing to provide shorter, faster, cheaper models to address the needs of our current economy.
So you're clearly an impact-driven entrepreneur. So with the rapid reskilling movement, what impact would you like to have globally?
We want to help at least 1 billion people in the next 10 years. And usually when I say that, people are like, wow, that's crazy. That's a lot of people. So yeah, we think big. And that's why we have investors that gave us about $12 million in the last 2 years. But you have to think big if you want to address this problem, because it's a big problem, right? But I actually think 1 billion is a conservative number. It's a small number in our mind, because the stats say that we're going to live in a 10 billion person world by 2050, right? So 1 billion out of 10 billion is only 10% of the people in the world. So 1 billion is just a start.
Well, fantastic. I really like the way you think. And now he knows my pet subject is impact-driven, marketing.
And category design.
and category design. Yeah, and category design. So yeah, fantastic. Ruben, Career Karma is such an interesting name, and obviously you were trying to communicate a particular set of values and beliefs using that name, right? Which again goes to the heart of the whole impact-driven movement, which is you kind of base it on a purpose and a value from the outset, right? So could you give us a rationale or thinking behind your decision to call your company Career Karma?
Yeah, I mean, so these things go in cycles, right? So if I'm changing careers 5 or more times in my lifetime, I'm going to be repeating a process over and over and over again. So the first step, if I'm lost and I don't know what to do, is I need to know what career paths are out there. Okay. So then I discover what career paths are out there. So that's step one. Then I need to know which career path, which training program is best for me, and how do I get in? Okay. Then I got to figure out how do I complete the training program and pass all the exams so I don't get kicked out and graduate like successfully. Then I got to figure out how to navigate the job search. Then I have to figure out how to be successful in my first job. And after I work in that job for 1 or 3 years, I get to repeat the cycle again. And I can repeat it to get a different job, or I could repeat it in order to get a more advanced skill set in what I'm currently doing, right? And so usually when you look at the symbol for karma, they use a boomerang, right? What happens when you throw a boomerang? You throw it, it comes back, right? And when you think about the value that we give to our users in Career Karma is free. It's very important for us to make a community that's accessible for people because, like I said, they don't have thousands of dollars in their pockets or even hundreds of dollars I think like in America, like people only have $400 in savings. A lot of people, like for emergency. So we want to make it free. And the reason why we would keep it free is because whenever we help schools and companies find qualified applicants, they pay us a fee to keep it free for you. The only cost in Career Karma, though, is if you get any value out of the app, that you spread the word and you're willing to help people behind you in the future, right? So if I help Karthiga or Lavendra get a job in tech, your responsibility, or ideally, if we did our job right, you will feel compelled to at least bring someone with you, right? It's not you're the new leader. You're the new me. You're the new other people inside of Career Karma. And it's your job to spread the word to others and let them know that they can do it too. And I know that we can't help 1 billion people in 10 years without empowering you to be great and you spreading the good word to help other people do the same thing. And we call that spreading good career karma, right? And so it's very important to have positive energy in the community because if you have negative energy in the community, the negative things come back. And like I told you, we want the community to feel like a safety net. And you can't have that with bad energy. And we wanted to create a name that's easy to understand when you hear it. Like you said, I didn't even tell you that we had a meaning about career karma. You can tell we thought about that. Right? And if you even look at the logo of Career Karma, if you look at the little hump in the middle, guess what that represents? A boomerang. And it represents a circle. And it also represents a mountain that you got to climb. It also represents a door. It also represents a flame, right? Because we're starting a spark of movement, right? That's a very deep symbol. And we wanted to create a symbol that you could draw, like the bat symbol, right? To represent hope, to represent inspiration, right? So,
Karthika, you have a follow-up a comment to that before I ask my next question?
Yeah. I have a ton of comments, obviously, because this is my pet topic and I love talking about it. But it's interesting what you said about, almost like a paid forward, or paid forward approach where you help me, so I help. And in turn, that kind of inspires and builds a movement. So it also sounds like you're addressing a far more fundamental problem of inequality by allowing people to be rapidly upskilled for quote unquote free.
that's right. That's right. I mean, initially, when people think about addressing inequality, they're like, give people money and they'll figure it out, which I don't disagree with. I mean, we have precedent with things like that. I think when I was in college, I know, I studied a guy named Muhammad Yunus. You know who Muhammad Yunus is? From Grameen Bank, and how he gave money to the woman and they had an amazing repayment with these microfinance loans, and like it worked very nicely, right? All human beings are entrepreneurs, is his mindset. I think there's a lot of power in like giving people money. There's a lot of cool organizations like Give Directly that exist for that. And on the surface, when you look at career companies, like, oh, we're just trying to help people get six-figure jobs quickly. But it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. we're teaching people not just how to empower themselves economically and have a sense of responsibility for their community and each other. We're also giving them superpowers. Right? They have tech skills. They know how to code. Right? There's a campaign we're doing right now called Reskill America. All right, where we give away 5,000 laptops for free to people that want to break into tech. All they need is the willpower to do this. Now, if I help 5,000 people get a job making $100,000, that's technically a $500 million impact. That's only 5,000 people. We talked about the big numbers, 3 billion, right? Or 2 billion, because of the blue collar workforce, right? 2 billion people getting free jobs. I'm not even gonna try to calculate that math. It's a lot of math. It's a lot of money. But if I have 5,000 people that control $500 million collectively, if they have the mindset that they stick together and they know how to code, that's like more powerful than having access. Yeah, you don't even need access to venture capital because you got yourself, and you can build projects to help your community and like solve problems. Like not even just start a business, just solve problems. You know, because technology is addressing everything now. It's not just luxury things. It's addressing housing, food, transportation, healthcare, blah, blah, blah. Like we hear stories like the boy who harnessed the wind and he brought power to his village in Africa. Imagine what you can do if the whole village knows how to code. A lot.
So this goes to my sort of follow-up question, and you made a brilliant entree into that, which is what's next for you? I mean, in terms of your current focus is on tech. Is that something you want to continue to do, but maybe at global scale for career swappers, or are you thinking of venturing into other areas of knowledge and training as well?
Yeah. So going back to the name, you know, there's a reason why Career Karma is not called Code Karma. We want to be the #1 destination for career advice on the internet, so we can empower anyone to find any skill set that they need, any job training program that they want, and the people that can help them get to the companies where they want to work. So we want to be that central hub for anybody. Currently, we're going to still stay focused on the U.S., but eventually we'll go global. With the $10 million that we raised, our focus is going to still stay focused on getting people jobs in the tech industry. But we also think deeply about what's the purpose of technology. So in my opinion, the purpose of technology is to give people a voice, give people the power to create, and give people the power to organize. In my opinion as well, the internet has always been designed to be peer-to-peer. Right? You guys are giving me a voice, right? But I don't want people to hear about me the rest of the year. I want people to hear about the people in the community. And so we just launched an amazing new feature inside of the Career Karma app that anybody all over the world can use, called Live Audio Room. So you can download the app today on iPhone and Android, and you can speak directly with people in the community that got jobs in tech, no matter where you're at, no matter what language that you speak, to create an engagement mechanism for you after you are enrolled in the program, to give you the opportunity to network with people and message each other and build that community of people that are going to stick with you for life. And so I'll say the biggest focus now is, what does the experience inside of Career Karma feel like after you're enrolled in a program that also positions you well for the job search, so that we can start tracking the experience from end to end. That's our main focus for the Series A money, and then we'll raise an amazing Series B and continue the trajectory. I'm gonna just put that out there in the world, so you know what's about to happen.
Great, Karthika.
Yeah, it's interesting for me, Ruben, to hear you talk, because I mean, obviously, Lavi and I live in emerging markets. I live in Sri Lanka, and Lavi lives in in India, right? We've always said that, solving some of the more pressing concerns of the world, you need to put an emerging market lens on it. But what's fascinating for me about Career Karma is because of the way it's structured and the people that you work with, you've already put an emerging market lens purely because of the kind of people that you work with and the type of impact that you're hoping to have. So, I mean, in terms of like helping 1 billion people, what are the other markets that you're looking to move into to create this global movement of rapid upskilling?
Yeah, I mean, so United States has what? A little over 300 million people. India, what? A billion people?
1.3
China?
billion.
1.3.
Exactly. So probably India, right? Then there's China, right? What, 2 billion people, something like that? There's Africa. There's Brazil, like very education focused. There's a bunch of places. We have to think about it. There's Europe. There's like the UK. It's pretty big. Like there's a lot of really innovative things happening all over the world. We've been blessed to raise money. Like you look at a $10 million number, and it's a blessing to have that. I think it's important to understand who we raised it from. Mm-hmm. We raised from amazing people like Initialize Capital that has $100 billion portfolio. We raised it from impact investors like Emerson Collective, like Imaginable Futures, like Kport Capital. And there's so many amazing people. I can't name all of them, but I'm going to highlight one of them, SoftBank. SoftBank is the largest fund in the world. It's a $300 billion fund. They're a global fund, right? They think like that. There's a Latin American fund. There's a fund for Black people. There's a Miami fund. There's a Vision fund, right? And singularity is the focus of the Vision fund, which is the focus of Career Karma, the acceleration of the creation and destruction of jobs forever. And we have an optimistic view, just like Masa. I'm not speaking for SoftBank. I'm just letting you know that our investors think from a global perspective, just like we do. And we're encouraged to collaborate. So we're a Y Combinator company. There's a network of 2,000 companies that are global, right? We're a Reforce company. It's a network of companies that are global, right? My first language is Spanish, right? I also speak English. I'm trying to teach myself Portuguese now. We can't reach 1 billion people without being global. But if you're gonna storm Paris, where's your Normandy? Right? And Normandy is actually dominating the United States first. And like getting that right, and then we
now
go.
We got that right.
So Ruben, I mean, has the pandemic, you sort of hinted at this in the very beginning of your conversation with us when you hinted at how the world sort of changed and the demand for this has become a little bit more acute because of the reskilling, with the job losses and the reskilling required to sort of gain new skills. Do you see that do you believe personally that the pandemic has sort of completely upended the education system as we know it? I mean, this going to, school, a physical location, learning, coming back, and I mean, it seems that the world's no longer doing that. At least they're trying to get back to doing that. But I think a lot of these things may fundamentally change. Everything from social distancing to remote learning. And do you see that as a positive disruption in your view, and probably something that will feed more people into a Career Karma like model where people are looking for options that doesn't entail them sort of going to school from 8 a.m. to, I mean, just you mentioned this really early as well, that your job seekers are juggling multiple things and they want stuff that has flexible self-paced sort of learning. Do you think those kinds of things will start to apply for even people in K-12 and secondary school and university as well, and potentially the market for what you're doing could expand to include that as well? I mean, people would need your sense making sort of community to figure out, hey, what university classes do I take? If universities sort of democratize and normalize and say we're all offering these stuff online, and anybody who qualifies can take them, and you can take a class from Harvard one day and another one from Dartmouth and another one from the community college. It doesn't really matter, right? I mean, I'm just thinking whether you've sort of and I'm wondering if you've sort of thought through some of the implications of what this pandemic may have done.
Yeah. So we're probably not gonna go K-12, but we could go like high school and up, because people are opting out of going to college more and more. And there's also 7,000 people that drop out of high school every single day. But most of the training programs we work with require 21 and up, so we're not focused on high schoolers yet, even though a lot of them come to us anyway, because that's what the need is. To answer your question about the education system, I think that the pandemic is what the industry needed in order to, like, I saw a really cool quote. It said, the higher education system has changed more in the last 2 weeks than it has in the last 200 years. Right? And I see it very similar to Martin Luther going to the church with the Protestant Reformation and like nailing the thesis to the church and it launching this Protestant movement, right? Where, there's been a lot of problems with higher education, with student loans going high, the cost of tuition, the debt going up, the completion rates being low, it taking 6 years to graduate, people being underemployed when they graduate. And it's understandable at the same time, right? Because if you follow the money trail, where do venture capitalists get their money? Limited partners. What are limited partners? University systems, governments, and other things like that, things like CalPERS, things like that, right? And usually, these university systems also feed the talent that gets hired by the companies that are being funded by the venture capitalists, right? So there's no question. It's obvious why we have diversity problems, because you keep hiring for the same schools that are funding the VCs, that are funding the startups that look like everybody else that's running all the organizations. So it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise, at least to me, because I like to study the money trail. But now that 1.7 billion people, I think, or over a billion people were forced to go online because of coronavirus, it did something very interesting, where usually when you have like a depression or a recession or something like this, education is counter-cyclical, right? Where people rush to go back to education to get reskilled, to get a job. The problem is people aren't sure if this school will help me get back into a job again. Especially when you have tech companies dropping the requirement to have a college degree, because you have more and more college dropouts starting schools. You have more boot camp grads starting companies, college dropouts starting companies. The requirement to have a college degree is not as valued anymore. Like, I didn't go to Ivy School. I had a low GPA. All right. So, I'm a good example. My co-founders went to boot camps. All right. And so when you start thinking about the shifts and people like still wanting to go to school, their question is, should I pay $50,000 a year to go to college on Zoom if it's not going to get me a job? Because everybody knows that, like, everybody's just going to college to get a credential because they think that's going to get them a job. But now you have over 1 million credentials in the US. So do credentials really matter? Because Networks, not credentials, move careers, in my opinion. I'm not saying credentials don't matter, but certificates and degrees don't get you jobs. Neither does learning how to code, because the facts are, even at Google and Facebook, most jobs are offline and come through referral, which goes back to the network. And so I say all of this just to give you a very long-winded, roundabout answer, which is people understand that there are multiple ways to get a job. Colleges know that the people know that they understand that college isn't a guarantee for a job, even though they're going to keep trying to sell it to you. So what colleges are doing is they're copying what worked with boot camps. Boot camps are the first rapid reskilling model at scale that colleges are copying. So you look at Trilogy is a great example that enabled colleges to launch boot camps. They got acquired for over $700 million by 2U, which is the online program provider, or OPM, for all these major colleges. And now you have all these other OPMs that are enabling people to have online options, and other players that are enabling colleges to launch boot camps. So now colleges have their own boot camps now. That's interesting. Chegg, another billion-dollar company, they bought Thinkful for $100 million. And they also partner with Southern New Hampshire University, so that if you go to Thinkful's boot camp, you also get a college credential. So wait, you go to the boot camp, you could pay less, you get a college credit, and you can get a job guarantee. That's interesting. Then you have Southern New Hampshire University buying Kenzie Academy. That just happened. What's Southern New Hampshire University? America's largest university, billion-dollar budget, over 100,000 students, over 90% of them are online. And they were doing this before online education was cool, right? The fact is, only a small number of colleges train most of the students. And yes, there are sketchy for-profit colleges out there, but the for-profit colleges are the pioneers in the game for the shorter, faster, cheaper model options. So I don't have a conclusion to answer this, but my point is that the pandemic has awakened people. And now my conversation with investors are not focused on convincing them that there's a problem and explaining that automation is a real thing. Everybody agrees with me now. And now the conversation is focused on what are the action items that we could focus on? How can we partner together to help millions and billions of people get back on their feet so they can ride this tidal wave and not get hit by it? That's the focus.
Brilliant exposition backed with a lot of technical data on what's happening in the marketplace. I'm just wondering, Ruben, whether the holy grail of all this is that Career Karma not only helps you sort of, switch career swap and, upskill yourself and reskill yourself, but eventually there is some tie-up where, it actually helps you get a job. That would be the holy grail, wouldn't it?
That is what's going to happen.
Okay. All right. Karthika?
I'm hearing you talk, Ruben, and pardon me for this question, but I've always noticed, and this could be just my personal biases working against me, impact-driven investors and entrepreneurs, they subscribe to some sort of ethos or value-based belief system that sort of drives them to be the change that they want to see in the world. And I feel like with some of the email exchanges that we've had, that might be true for you as well, in that, your fundamental belief system has helped you focus on the greater good as opposed to just you becoming a billionaire.
It's true. So, the best founders, in my opinion, are founders that have the problem themselves, right? So my co-founders went to the boot camp to get jobs in tech. My brother went to a boot camp to get jobs in tech. We all went to boot camps for entrepreneurs like Y Combinator, right? So we practice what we preach. We're not just telling you to do things and we've never done it before. We're about that action too. But if you're referring to my personal belief system, so this is like taking my career karma hat off and my personal belief system, I do believe in God, right? I believe in a higher power. I believe that we are all blessed with spiritual gifts. And it is our duty not to bury them and to put them out to the world in order to improve the world in a better way. And the reason why I say that is because I would not be happy if I just help people get jobs that they love that pay well. I'll be happy if they not only achieve their full potential and do jobs that they love that get paid, but they discover their purpose. Right? If you can figure out how to put your spiritual gifts out into the world, not just as an individual, but as a collective, do you know what kind of change we're gonna see in the world? Like, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it, you know? So I personally feel that I'm doing what I was put on this earth to do. I feel like God called me to do this. That's why I wake up at 5 a.m. every day to do this for years. That's why I've done over 2,000 calls personally, 20,000 calls personally. This is my life. I would die doing this. It's my dream.
I think that's a perfect ending to what has been a fabulous conversation, because I think we would detract from that if we carry on further. So Ruben, it has been a revelation, an inspiration. All of those things for us listening on this side. We collectively wish you all success in what you're trying to do to change the world. We are similarly mission aligned. I know Karthika wants to get in, so that's my piece. Karthika?
Yes, I was wondering, and this idea came to me while Ruben was talking, that, where you talked about how the internet is peer-to-peer, and it's not just about your story, but everybody else's story. At some point down the line, we can feature a few people that have benefited from the movement to help inspire more people and to help inspire the movement, basically.
That is the focus. No doubt. That's the focus. Like, before we started CareerCom, we started a podcast called Breaking Into Startups to do just that. So if you go to breakingintostartups.com, you'll see little hints and seeds where we're giving other people a voice, where we feature their story on our podcast. But expect more of that times millions. And eventually billions.
Sorry, Ravi.
I think what Karthika was saying is, Ruben, we would love to have you back with some of the people that you may have impacted positively on the show. And I was also going to think, Karthika, that we should pair Ruben with some of the other impact guests that we're thinking of having for a larger conversation around changing the world in a positive way. So, Ruben, we would love to have you back, maybe multiple times, if you could spare us the time. So
yeah, I think in Q3 or Q4 that would be better, because we got to stay heads down to hit some of our big product goals. But yeah, probably like Q3, like late Q3, early Q4 is good.
Wonderful. That would be great. So thank you so much again, Ruben. All the best for everything that you're doing. Godspeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Peace.